Hello again, and welcome to Area 1 of our course this semester in Growth and Revival in the Christian Church. Before I share a couple of thoughts of background and context regarding Area 1, I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into one of the things that I want us to, that I'm planning on offering to you this semester. In each of the areas, it's my goal to offer you three very brief video snippets, brief lecturettes, if you will, of first off trying to offer some context for the area in which we are studying. Secondly, coming back and offering a little bit of a did you know, maybe one of the key themes of the time, and talking about that. And then third, coming back at the end and offering some key takeaways that you can take with you and that would be important to remember as we move on in each of these areas. I would encourage you to not only look at the transcript that I will provide of these lectures, but also to use this information, um, especially as we move toward our major exams, and I'll give you more information about that at a later date. But for starters today, with Area 1, a brief word of overview about this area. In Area 1, we will be spending time reading and thinking about the growth of Christianity during its earliest years. Our study will begin during the New Testament period, and even though we will not tell again the entire New Testament story, we do need to see how Christianity grew and spread in its first generations of believers. What was it about the Apostle Paul, those first century believers, that pushed Christianity forward despite great odds? Additionally, we will be looking to see how Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire in its first 300 years of existence. It is a remarkable story of faith and perseverance in the face of sporadic persecution and a worldview that was often hostile to Christianity. Have you ever stopped to think about why Christianity survived and even thrived in its first several hundred years of existence? Without a doubt, God was at work. The giving of the Spirit at Pentecost empowered those who had been fearful, those who had denied, and those who had been in hiding to proclaim boldly the resurrection of Jesus from the dead, and thousands came to repentance. As the book of Acts attests, God was at work mightily in the early years so that the infant church could have a strong foundation. The outwardly miraculous did not last forever, though. Even within the New Testament period, as many of the epistles tell us, the early churches started by Paul and others sometimes struggled with what to believe and how to act in response to the gospel message. False teachings were present from the beginning, and persecution reared its ugly head as well. Not only was Stephen martyred for his faith, but after his execution, the believers in Jerusalem were scattered by a wave of persecution, an event sometimes referred to as the diaspora. But Christians did not go into a hole or give up their faith. Instead, they moved in conjunction with the persecution and took their faith with them. Where they settled, they started churches and shared their faith, and the church continued to grow. Remarkably, whenever the authorities tried to stamp out Christianity with persecution, the resilient believers withstood the challenge, and many times the church came out on the other side even stronger than before the persecution. Because persecution is such an important theme during these first 300 years, we will return to it in the next lecture, talk about it a little bit further. But one more thing for your consideration as you begin to tackle your readings. I think it is also worth considering that Christianity grew during these years because of the faithful witness of many unnamed and unknown men and women. The Pentecost experiences are fun when thousands come to faith. But the story of the growth of the early church is less about the Pentecost moments and more about converted merchants talking about Jesus to their customers, and Christians talking to their neighbors and people they met in town and in the market. History hasn't left us many records of the faithful masses, but there is no way that Christianity spreads the way it does without them. So as you read the initial assignments in this first area of the class, you will be reading about some of the famous people whose stories have survived the years, and their stories are powerful and encouraging. Remember, though, that there are thousands of others that we know nothing about who lived and sometimes died just as faithfully because they had been transformed by the power of the gospel.